Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, a look back at President Trump's first 100 days in office. Also tonight, a new bill could require the use of female crash test dummies in auto safety tests. And the Phoenix Art Museum showcases the work of an iconic photographer. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. The U.S. Supreme Court today heard oral arguments in a case involving the use of state money to run the nation's first religious charter school. The case involves a Catholic charter school in Oklahoma. The state's charter school board approved the school, but Oklahoma's Attorney General sued, claiming that a religious public school would violate the First Amendment and the state's constitutional ban on public spending to support religious institutions. The Supreme Court is not expected to decide on the case until late June or early July. Economic growth in the U.S. contracted for the first time in 3 years. That's according to the Commerce Department, which reported today that the nation's gross domestic product fell in the first 3 months of the year at an annual rate of 0.3%. That's more of a decline than economists had predicted, and it's a significant decline from the final 3 months of last year when the economy expanded by 2.4%. Now, most economists point to President Trump's global trade policies as the major factor in the declining numbers, but not the president. He blamed former President Joe Biden for the current numbers.
Core GDP, and this is, you probably saw some numbers today. And I have to start off by saying that's Biden. That's not Trump, because we came in on January, this is the quarterly numbers. And we came in and I was very against everything that Biden was doing in terms of the economy.
The president added that the weak economic figures have, quote, nothing to do with tariffs, but Democrats on Capitol Hill, they beg to differ.
These tariffs are a disaster. They serve no positive purpose at all. And there's a lot of hesitation on the part of many of my Republican colleagues because of the power of Trump. But at a certain point, they're going to be listening to the power of their constituents who want no more tariffs.
That said, the threat of tariffs led to an increase in consumer spending last month. The Commerce Department today reported that spending increases on automobiles, which have been targeted for tariffs, increased by almost 57% in March, leading the overall spending surge. Yesterday marked the first 100 days in office for President Trump. The past 3+ months have been nothing if not consequential. For an overview of where we've been and where we're going, we welcome Jason Barraza, a partner at Veritas, and Wes Gullett. He is with Nexus. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason, we're going to start with you since you're on the other side of the aisle here. 100 days, Trump presidency, thoughts?
It has been one of the most consequential changes in American policy and American direction that we've probably seen in 50, 75, 100 years. This is monumental, and we don't even know the breadth of what is changing in America right now. We're only seeing the start of it. But it has been monumental and represents a new course for America.
Just general thoughts, Wes, and we'll take it from there.
Well, when I was here before the election, I said, let's not go to the chaos of the past. We've got the chaos of the future now. And it's even more chaotic than it was before. So I wish people would, people chose for this chaos. So this is what we've got.
Wes, I've read that he has changed America, at least how America is perceived around the world, more than any president since FDR. True?
Oh, 100%. There's no question that America has changed. We all are thinking about it when we're thinking about where we're going to go on vacation this summer, because we're going to stay here in the United States because we don't know what other people are thinking about us. But when I was a kid, we were taught the golden rule. And the golden rule was treat others like you want to be treated yourself. And I think that Donald Trump was absent that day because this is just crazy town.
Well, and Jason, executive orders, we've had almost as many in 3 months as the former president had in 4 years. I thought executive orders were like bad because, Congress didn't like them. Now you got a Congress that says bring it on.
Well, they're bad when you have a government system that's based on 3 equal parts. But when you have someone leading one of those parts that thinks that they are the end all and the decision maker regarding every little thing in America, well, that's the way business is done. This is what the Trump administration, second Trump administration, is all about. His sole rule of America.
You agree with that?
Well, I think President Trump is acting as quickly as possible. He made a lot of promises during the campaign, and he's trying to act on those. The best way to act on those is executive orders. Now, they all have to figure out through the courts, because some of them are in violation of U.S. federal law that the Congress passed and the president signed. So we're going to see how that all works out in the courts, but there's been a lot going on, yeah.
As far as immigration crackdown, kept campaign promises there, did he not?
It certainly was a campaign promise. I don't know if America really understood exactly what he meant. I don't think that they understood that he meant throwing out birthright citizenship, changing the way that America has done things for years, and or throwing out due process and essentially picking up people off the street and deciding who can stay and who can't.
Deportations, though, have they increased so far?
I don't know if they've increased specifically, but certainly how we go about doing that has significantly changed.
The perception of the process of deportations, Wes, that obviously has changed.
Yeah, and you can see it. You have a sense that people are nervous. I talk to people all the time who are nervous about going to work, and you know, they might be joking, but down deep. I mean, my daughter was born in Bangladesh, and she called me up and said, "Am I going to be deported?" She's a naturalized U.S. citizen.
Yeah. Wes, sticking with you, tariff policies, they seem to be, correct me if I'm wrong, turning the world upside down.
Well, the thing that I find unusual is, one, he didn't tell us, give us the backstory. And the backstory with Europe, you know, you can see how those might work out. But Canada is like our brother. They're like our younger brother, and we are treating them like they're enemies. And I don't understand that one.
Why are we turning allies into opponents? I mean, it almost seems as though the president wants to do. He would love to do this, and meanwhile, Vladimir Putin is still getting away with bombing Kyiv.
Yeah, the answer to that question lies inside the president's head, and I'm not going to venture that far into that quagmire. But exactly what these tariffs are meaning to the world, we talk about our perception amongst our allies. We're attacking our allies economically by putting these tariffs in place, and we're not doing nothing but hurting Americans who put him in office to help lessen the strain on their pocketbooks. And his first actions were to increase that strain. That's not what America wanted.
If the tariffs, though, work in terms of getting better trade deals, different trade deals, maybe individually or in some sort of group fashion, is it all worth it?
He has said, just give it time, right? Let's wait. Tell that to the people who are working 2, 3 jobs, that are struggling to put food on the table, that are worried about whether or not their job is going to pay for the things that they need. They don't have time to wait. They can't ride this out. They don't have the trust fund that's sitting there that can pay for things like everybody in the president's world does.
With that in mind, is there a shelf life here for especially tariffs and economic concerns?
Well, I think that even if the tariffs do bring people to the table, they bring them to the table mad. And that's not really how we treat our allies. And these are our allies: Japan, South Korea, Europe, Canada, Mexico. They're our friends, and now they're coming to the table, but they're being drugged to the table with a stick to their head.
And as far as America is concerned, it sounds as though we had a relatively booming economy. Obviously, inflation was a big deal, but the economy itself, GDP, the whole rest of the thing, you know, it was going along, humming along pretty, and it's not humming along pretty well right now.
There's so much uncertainty.
And is that the bottom line, the uncertainty?
Yeah, it's the uncertainty, and that's the chaos, the uncertainty, the chaos, and that's what, and if you're a business person today, are you going to make a major investment? No, you're going to wait and see. Well, that timeline then slows down the economy. That's what you're seeing in those numbers for the first quarter. It's the uncertainty has caused this slowdown, and that's why we've had negative growth.
You agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Business thrives on predictability, and the tariffs, who's they're going to apply to, how much is going to be applied, that has been up in the air and has been impossible to get a handle on.
Dismantling the federal government with Elon Musk's group at the helm here, the impact now, the impact in the future.
Well, we don't know what the impact is in the future because I don't think we fully understand what doing away with some of these organizations really fully means. USAID, for example, what they have been bringing to the world, that is far beyond what I think has been characterized as charity. This is about holding other countries, other nations at bay. Thought process. This was brought about to stop communism and socialism spreading across America, and now we're just doing away with it and hoping for the best.
Isn't this, Wes, Republican? Isn't this what Republicans have always wanted? A smaller,
Yes, we have.
more, I don't know how we used to say, quicker, faster federal government, get rid of all this bloat and all this waste. Is he not doing what Republicans have always wanted?
I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but I do like some of this stuff. But I'll tell you what, it is dangerous for us to eliminate things that we have global leadership in. So when you blanket cut grant funding for institutions like ASU and research, which is what we lead the world in ideas and technology, that's dangerous. That's dangerous.
Last question, bottom line. Wes, we'll stick with you, and then we'll go with you, Jason. Are we a better country? Are we in better shape than we were 100 days ago?
Oh, no. No. We're in a conflict with our brothers to the north on our continent. That is a problem.
I guess if the guy leaning right says we're not better, I'm guessing the guy leaning left says.
Our economy is in question. The nation does not hold us in the same, or the world does not hold us in the same standing as they used to. No, we're not in a better place today.
Here's my last question. 1,300 more days of this. Can we handle it?
We'll see. We'll see what the midterms bring.
This is a resilient country. We have fundamental protections. It's going to be very interesting to see how this all works out and where the Supreme Court ends on a lot of these questions. And we'll see if the rule of law is more important than the rule of personality.
Wes Gullett, Jason Barraza, gentlemen, always a pleasure. Good to have you both here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I love working at Arizona PBS for many reasons.
The people. I'm fortunate to work with some really talented individuals.
I was shocked, like I was going to work for the place that produced Sesame Street.
I love that we have such a strong community impact.
Because I get to tell the stories of Arizona.
Really, there's no job more fulfilling than using your skills and talents and abilities to enrich your communities.
The creativity and the passion of my colleagues.
It's just a great place, and I love being here.
Hi, I'm Catherine Anaya, host of Horizonte, the groundbreaking program that has served as a platform for Arizona's Latino community for more than 2 decades.
Latinos care about issues across the board, just like everyone else.
There's a lot of diversity in thought and opinion. We just need to make sure parents understand the value in having multilingual students.
We like to hear our voices heard. Stream episodes online at azpbs.org, YouTube, or on the PBS app.
I have some glad tidings to impart.
Whoa! Look at that!
I'm still surprised at how good I am.
Jane Austen was my sister.
I didn't think I would ever study medicine, but here I am.
Absolutely delicious, especially straight out of the oven.
I've never seen anything like this.
I think we have sufficient cause for celebration.
The She Drives Act is new federal legislation aimed at updating auto safety tests by using crash test dummies that are modeled after women as well as men. Studies show that women are more likely to suffer serious injuries in a car crash, and yet safety tests are largely designed for men. Joining us now is Mark Lambert. He's an attorney from the law firm Fenimore. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you too.
The She Drives Act, give me a better definition.
Yeah, so what you're dealing with here is an act that's designed to close this gap, this barrier between safety standards for men and for women. So if you look back 40, 50, 60 years, if the crash dummies that were used and the technology that was used to protect us was really focused on men only. And so what the She Drives Act does now is it launches us forward so we can look at crash dummies for women and different sizes, different shapes, different muscle mass, and so on.
Interesting. Women 17% more likely to be killed in car crashes.
Yeah.
As an attorney dealing with these kinds of things, does that sound familiar? That ring a bell?
It does, unfortunately. As I've been a personal injury lawyer for the last 30 plus years, and the thing that I note is there are certain types of injuries that I see over and over again in women, but not men. I can give you some examples.
Please.
So you have clavicle fractures. It's not that a man can't sustain that, but in my 3 decades of doing this, 95% of the time I see someone injured with a clavicle injury, a clavicle fracture that's caused by a seatbelt, a shoulder strap, is in a woman. I also see pelvic fractures that are really common in women, but not as much in men.
And again, the reason that maybe seatbelts are designed the way they are and other aspects of a vehicle and the cockpit, if you will, designed the way it is because female modeled crash test dummies never exist. They didn't even try them out.
So initially, they weren't even used at all. They were only using male crash test dummies for decades. And then there was an introduction of using female crash dummies, but those dummies represented the 5th percentile, where the men, the dummies represent the 50th percentile, so the average man.
Yeah.
But in the case of a woman, you're talking about a woman who's going to be 4'11" and weigh 110 pounds.
So how would the legislation change things? What would it require? These was it auto firms, car makers? Who's involved here?
So it's the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration. It's a tongue twister, but that's the organization that promotes the regulations related to safety and driving. So what this is going to do is require now, if it's passed, and right now it's going to go to a vote to the Senate, is the crash test dummies. The new form of them are representative of a woman, and they're pushing to try to get it to the 50th percentile woman. But in addition, it's going to reflect their morphology, their anatomy, if you will. So it's going to address their muscle mass, their differences in the pelvic girdle, all different areas of the body, which previously hadn't been addressed at all for safety purposes.
And the bill estimates that maybe like 1,300 lives could be saved just from that one change?
You think about it, yes, and that's in the United States alone. There are 1.2 million people that die in car crashes worldwide every year. And if you think that there's a greater percentage of women who are dying because the safety equipment was never designed for them in the first instance, when you translate that to numbers, we're talking about huge numbers.
So the change, obviously, and this is a bipartisan bill. I can't imagine this thing not getting through the Senate. But can you target other vulnerable groups? Can you target, I don't know, the elderly and folks like that? Can this grow from here?
I think it needs to, and I think that's the direction it's headed. I think right now, the majority of drivers on the road are women, and women are actually in less accidents than men. So you're talking about a huge demographic that hasn't been addressed. I do think there are other demographics that need to be addressed, like people of small stature, people that in terms of weight are heavier. They're all different demographics that need to be addressed, that can be. And it's not suggesting that the average man or the average woman shouldn't be addressed. It's just trying to make sure that it accommodates different people.
Yes, get more people in that circle. Mark Lamber, again, attorney here, and this is really interesting. I never knew this was a thing, and it's not just a thing, it's legislation, and it's about to be law. Good to have you here.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, we take stock of President Trump's economic policies more than 100 days into his second term. That's at 6 on Arizona PBS.
An exhibition at the Phoenix Art Museum is showcasing the work of legendary photographer Richard Avedon, who is known as one of the most influential photographers of the 20th century. Emmy Miscavige is the Norton Family Assistant Curator of Photography at the Phoenix Art Museum, and she joins us now. Emmy, good to have you here. Welcome to Arizona Horizon. Who was Richard Avedon?
Yeah, so he was one of the most iconic photographers of the 20th century and is known for photographing celebrities, but was really a celebrity in his own right and produced iconic images of so many of our beloved cultural figures.
Known for portraits, right?
Yes, absolutely. Portraits, fashion photography, and he had a 6-decade career.
Started as a fashion photographer, correct?
Yes, correct. And he actually made identity photographs for the military for 2 years, made portraits, while he was serving during World War II, and then immediately afterwards started working for Harper's Bazaar magazine. He studied with Alexei Brodovich, the esteemed art director of the magazine, and that's kind of how he got his start.
I saw, before we get to some of the photos here, I saw a quote where he said, my portraits are more about me than the people I photograph. What did he mean by that?
Yeah, it's such a rich quote. It's so interesting to think about what that might mean. Avedon really was not a believer in the idea that a portrait distilled the essence of a person. He really thought about portraiture kind of more dynamically as an exchange of personalities, an exchange of energy between people. And I think his portraits, really help us think about, what do you learn from a picture of someone, from looking at it? And it's the person who showed up to his studio on that day. It's one moment from a long life.
It's a snapshot.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's go to some of the photographs, and we start with Marilyn Monroe with a photograph that again, that says a lot, doesn't it, without saying anything?
Exactly, yeah. So this is one of the exhibition photographs that I'm really drawn to because the show, thinks about the gap between people's private lives and their public personas and how Avedon's photographs show that. And so this is from a photo shoot where he kind of caught her in this moment looking a little introspective, and that really contrasts, right, with how we think of her as this, exuberant celebrity who's full of life, and here he catches her in kind of a quieter moment.
Shows the private life and the public life all in the same shot, doesn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
We have another one here from someone named Dovima. And who was Dovima, and what's she doing out there?
Yeah. So this is one of the models that Avedon worked with very closely. He had really close working relationships with a number of models for Harper's Bazaar and these other magazines throughout the 50s. And so she was, one of the biggest models of her time. And she actually created her name, Dovima, from Dorothy Virginia Margaret, and kind of taking the start of all of those names.
Yeah.
And she was the highest paid model in her time. And here we see one of Avedon's most iconic pictures of her where she's with these elephants, and he's shooting film. It's not digital. This is so far before digital. So just imagining what an eye he had to have to be able to catch a moment like that where she's mid-gesture and know, like, I got the shot.
I think she was, wasn't she like one of the first supermodels?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
There's Dovima. Okay, the next one is Natasha Kinski, and this one is very provocative, and a lot of people recognize this one.
Yes, and she looks so calm, and I would not be calm in this situation because I'm a little freaked out by snakes, but this is a really iconic image that just kind of blew up in our culture. Like, people bought posters of this, and if you look closely, the snake's tongue is actually like right near her ear.
Near her ear,
it's a pretty, it's kind of an unsettling image, this kind of clash of the snake and the beauty of her figure, but this is just a couple of years before she really kind of shot to stardom as the central character in Wim Wenders' movie Paris, Texas from 1984.
Yeah, she had quite a career going for her. All right, Marian Anderson is our next photograph, and she was an opera star, and she had quite a story. story, didn't she?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she was a contralto singer and performed in a variety of roles, and so the show really showcases Avedon's portraits of fellow creative people, like artists, writers, musicians, and she's one of our performers that is featured. And I love how this image is so emblematic of how Avedon brings us so close to his subjects. You can see every pore, every wrinkle, every hair in their eyebrows, and I feel like looking at this picture, you can just feel the kind of the breath, the song coming out of her voice.
And again, Marian Anderson had to sing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial because the Daughters of the American Revolution would not allow her to sing in Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C. because of her race. That is, and that you can almost, once you know the story and hear the story, you can see that in the photograph,
exactly.
can't you?
It takes on a different gravity.
It does. Real quickly, before we go, we got to get to Paul McCartney here. He's the one we're going to show. That's a young Paul McCartney.
It is. I was just thinking about that earlier, looking really closely at this picture. And I mean, you can see like how freshly shaven he is, going back to just how close Avedon brings us to his sitters' faces. And, again, kind of a giant of popular culture in this moment of kind of, quietude, introspection, and you can feel the kind of calm and trust that Avedon had with his subjects.
Long before he was Sir Paul, there he is. Congratulations on this exhibition. How long does it run?
Thank you. It's on view until May 25th.
All right. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us. And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.